Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to have today's host and today's speaker, Mustafa Toroman, in the track
Hello.
of DevOps. His talk will be Road to DevOps, and the question is, are we ready for transformation? Mustafa Toroman is an MVP, and he's also a solutions architect at Authority. Just a reminder that Tech Community Day is it's a 2-day event brought you by the community for the community, and it's brought you by SQL Server User Guatemala Group, Microsoft Dev Group Cuban, Docker Guatemala, and Kubernetes Guatemala. These are our social networks. Be sure to scan the QR code so you can reach out to us. In Facebook, we have a page which is Tech Community Day, and so do we have a Twitter account and our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe and like the video if you like what you're seeing. For technical assistance and questions, please type your any questions that you have to Mustafa, and he will be gladly answering all of your questions. Just leave your questions right in the comment section, and we'll answer, or Mustafa is going to answer the questions at the end of the conference or the talk. Make sure to view this video in full screen so you have like the best experience. And also that we have a Slack channel where you can reach out to speakers and to other stuff that's happening in the Slack channel. So make sure to go into techcommunityday.slack.com and join the channel EUN13 TCD so that you can see all of our speakers and other things as well. So without taking more of Mustafa's time, I'm going to leave you with Mustafa with his session, Road to DevOps. So thank you, Mustafa.
Thank you for introduction. Okay, so we're going to discuss Road to DevOps, or what actually inclines to do that kind of transformation, what that kind of transition for the company. Let me quickly tell you a few things about me. So I'm Mustafa Toroman. I come from Bosnia and Herzegovina. I work as a solution architect for a company, Authority Partners, which is an American company. I mainly work with Fortune 500 companies in financial sector in US. I'm also Microsoft Azure MVP and very certified in Microsoft technologies in general. Like have over 50 different certificates in with Microsoft. Okay, so before we start, just like let us remember how did we deliver software in the past, which was the path for it. So basically this was something long ago where we had punch cards, and it kind of looks funny from our perspective, but people actually landed the rocket on the moon using those kind of things. This was really long time ago, and something in my early years when I got interested in computers, we had something like this, and those guys had like 1 megabyte of memory available for them, and we actually use them to install software with them. At some point a few years ago, one of the guys posted out on Twitter that his kids saw a disk and told that it was a 3D printed save icon. This is something mind-blowing to my generation, but it's incredible that like there are completely new generations that don't remember those at all and don't know what those are. Somewhere between, we had the computer magazines. In the beginning, they actually had printed out code. So if you wanted to run something, you have to type it in, compile it, and then run it. They also delivered disks. Later, we got optical media. But the big change in the software delivery was web. So with web, we got different things, and we got different ways how we could actually deliver software. Because with web option, we could get download available, updates were available over the internet, and things really moved better for the software industry when this got available. Now, another big breaking change in the computer industry and the software industry was definitely cloud computing. Uh, this is like really famous slide. I think like in the last 10 years or so, everyone's seen it with different models, with infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service that brought new revolution to the software industry. But what's most interesting for us right now, right here, is actually this part, software as a service. We switched from delivering using all those different medias. We stopped delivering software as a package product. We started delivering it as a service. No one is actually buying software anymore. Everyone is buying subscription for a limited amount of time. What this changed for us? So basically, if we're delivering software, we cannot bet everything on a product that we're gonna publish in 2 years and then sell for the next 2 years. That doesn't work like that anymore. We cannot and from the client perspective, they're not investing huge amount of money for a particular software. They're actually just buying a subscription and using the service. And when they buy a package software where they make an investment, they're locked with the investment for a certain amount of time. So even if they are not completely satisfied with the product, they're still gonna use it for quite some time until they're able to afford the switch. With software as a service and subscription model, users don't get locked in. They are able to switch whenever they want. And whatever software you make, like whatever is your niche market, you probably have some kind of competition. And you have to follow the competition, because if I have a software product and my competitors release new cool features that I don't have, and by the end of the month when my user subscription runs out, they're going to switch, and I don't have the opportunity to do those things anymore. Like, I have to be more agile, more flexible. I need to be faster to deliver best possible product to my users, or at least to catch my competitors as soon as possible. So, what is stopping us to be the fastest people? What on the market? What is stopping us to deliver best product possibly on the market? There are many things that make those issues. Like, first of all, would be the communication between development and operations. So. There are a lot of things like that can go wrong in this department, and in traditional IT environment, developers and operations don't actually get along very much. It's like dog and cats world where everyone is against everyone. But why does it happen? So basically, development is always about change, about driving forward, about using the latest and coolest and best stuff. On the other hand, operations is more about stability. It's about keeping things balanced and keeping things working. So the big problem in this area is also this wall of confusion that is behind between them, and lack of communication to actually make things work. So it's usually we or them. So it's always a battle. So we often have a situation like, if I had a dollar for every time I heard it works on my machine, I would be probably a very, very rich man. On the other hand, operations will always say, "Oh, it's never on my server; it's something on your code." And we have different situations. Like, if 6 days after successful deployment, server experiences highest load, who actually needs to address this issue? Is it dev or ops? It actually depends on who you're going to ask. So basically, if you ask developer, it says, yeah, but it was 6 days ago, it was running for 6 days, there's something on the server, something changed, I don't know, it's not my code. On the other hand, operations will say, yeah, my server was running smooth for years, and now you deployed something on it, and it's not working anymore. It's definitely code. Again, situation where you have software is deployed to a static environment and you cannot log into application. Who should address the problem? Again, depends on who you're going to ask. We have a blaming game. Also, there's the issue on the build server. The code doesn't build properly. Who needs to address that issue? DevOps. Again, same situation. Blame game goes around, and the bottom line is that things don't get resolved. We have a situation where we're not doing anything. Uh, Also, what are the big problems between dev and ops today? So there's no formalized handover between the two teams. We have situation where we have a not defined procedure how things should be handled. Operations is facing problems in the production alone. They never have a support on how things should be handled when something goes wrong. We have silos organizations, isolated, as I said. We don't communicate enough. We don't make plans together. Uh, Also mentioned before, development is all about new things, about changes, about driving things forward. Operation is have it working. It needs to keep stable. Don't touch what is working perfectly fine, and so on. The other problem is they use different tools. Like development and operations are rarely gonna use same tools in traditional IT environments. We have disinterest for the other team. We not only disinterest, we have a dislike for the other teams. That's the main problem. Also, they have different environments on dev test production issue, and different teams, different people maintaining those environments and not having consistent environments across the systems. We also have a blame game, as mentioned. We All the time people are gonna like tell, no, it's not my team, it's them, it's never us. We also have a different processes that they're following, for example Scrum. IT support or operations team is often going to work on ITIL, and so on. So what is the solution in those situations? Well, the best possible solution is definitely DevOps, where we need to bring dev and ops together. And this is not only addressing those issues with bringing people together and working as one team, but it's also making multiple changes across the organization. So if you ask people what is DevOps, you're probably gonna get different answers from across the board. The best one I got so far is by Donovan Brown from Microsoft, that says DevOps is the union of people, processes, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. And I think this one brings the DevOps best. At least closest to that perfect definition it can get. Okay, so we need to understand that DevOps is not just like making additional team and getting people that are going to do DevOps. I'm actually pretty allergic to the definition of term DevOps engineer, because it's putting incredible pressure on certain people and expecting impossible things from them. We need to understand that DevOps is actually a new culture and a new way of thinking, and needs to be really different, and it's not quite easy to implement, and it cannot be overnight. So first rule of DevOps is automation. Automate everything. So during the deployment processes and testing, like the main issue and the often problem in the production is going to be human error. Someone's going to forget one step, something's going to get skipped, someone's going to copy the wrong content somewhere, etc. So we want to eliminate human error and try to automate all possible steps, as many of them as possible. Sometimes it's not possible to actually automate everything, but we actually need to bring it as close as possible to complete automation. There are a couple of key concepts that we need to understand. So continuous delivery, continuous integration, and continuous deployment. Basically, getting a streamline from the code getting committed to getting built, to getting published to different environments, and again, this process needs to be automated all the way. So we need to remember that. Also, big problem in traditional traditional environments and traditional way of working with projects is that it usually takes a long time to get something on board. So basically, what waterfall and agile have together is like basically first we do design, we do the plan. In waterfall, we're going to do a whole bunch of coding. Then after the coding is done, we're going to test, and then we're going to deploy. But it usually takes whole sprint, which is basically usually from 1 to 4 weeks, depending on the process, to actually get something published, something done. In agile, it's a bit different. The difference is that we're gonna like code every little piece that can be like looked as a separate unit. Once it's coded, once it's done, we're going to test it immediately. But again, the problem is that we're going to deploy it after the end of the sprint, at the end of the sprint. And this is like in modern software industry, something we cannot actually allow ourselves. And how we're actually going to do it. So basically, DevOps is the answer. Because why? In DevOps, ideal execution methodology is like code, test, deploy. Like the smallest piece of code that can be looked as a separate unit, complete unit, we're gonna like do, test immediately. Once the tests are done, let's go to deployment. This brings us closer to our customers. So basically, every change we do, we don't have to wait for a month or week or month, depending on the process, to actually deliver that change to a client. We actually have option to code, test, and deploy as soon as it's ready. So if you're just like pushing one button from one side to another because it's like more convenient for the user or something, why would we need to actually wait for a full month to deploy that? Like that's a change that's going to like take 15 minutes. We do it, we test it, and we deploy it. It's right there. User can start using it. Same goes for more complex feature, but we don't want to wait as much as long as the end of the sprint. We want to deliver customers value right here, right now, right away. So this is the big thing that we need. Why? Because we need to keep track of our competition. So basically, if they delivered something on Monday, if we don't have it by Friday in our production, it can be the end of us. So we need to address that. Also, if we're making changes, we need to push our competition and deliver it before they actually do it. Because at certain point of time, maybe we're working on the same feature, and we want to be the first one on the market as well and deliver it as soon as possible. This is like really mind-blowing chart to me, saying how much deployments, what is basically the deployments frequency for different companies. So basically, Amazon does 23,000 deployments per day. Google has 5,500 per day, Netflix 500 per day, Facebook is 1 per day, Twitter 3 times per week. Where we have a typical enterprise that usually takes every 9 months to deploy. And this is like the usual waterfall or something way of running projects, where we have really, really slow deployment time. And we cannot afford anymore to work like this. It's basically impossible to allow ourselves. And what can we like when you look at the major players in the market? For example, like Amazon is the biggest retailer in the world right now. They don't have any stores. Actually, they do now, but like for years before, they never had a physical store anywhere. We have I don't know, Airbnb, one of the biggest provider of room service, and they don't have a single building in their possession. Like we have Uber, that is one of the biggest transportation companies right now. They don't own a single car. Software is changing the world we live in. And basically, everything is a software company now. So basically, whatever you do, you are dependent on IT and software. Is it your web page? Is it your I don't know, mobile app? Is it your web shop? Something. Every company is present on the internet and has some kind of service that can be used online. So we need to be fluid. We need to be fast. We need to change how we do things. What is specific with DevOps? So basically, it's not a typical way of running projects where we have like start date, end date, and we need to do this like that. In DevOps, it's a continuous process. So basically, how the process goes. First, we plan. We plan what we want to do. We create a certain ideas on how our process is going to flow, the timeline on when we're going to deliver something, and what needs to be done by when, and so on. Then we do a development. And after development is done, we test and release to a production environment. Once the thing is in the production, we monitor and learn. By monitoring and learning, we are adjusting our process and getting back to step one, planning again, because we are learning what we did right or wrong. So basically, if we delivered new feature, like we started developing new feature, we deployed it somewhere, we deployed it to production, and we need to use metrics. Are users actually using it? If they are not using it, why they are not using it? Is it not accessible? Did they try it at all? And so on. Those metrics can tell us a lot about our process, our ideas. Are we doing things right? And it gives us a chance to plan accordingly. Also, one thing that this continuous process needs to do is like I already mentioned, we like do a smallest code chunks that we can look at as a unit. We develop, test, and deploy. This also gives us opportunity of the rollback compared actually to situation where we have a typical enterprise every 9 months. If we are delivering software every 9 months, like 9 months of development is going to produce a lot of issues and bugs and problems for us. And once we're in production, we're going to like see those bugs. We need to roll back. We need to actually spend again a significant amount of time to actually resolve those issues, and then deploy again. In DevOps process, that is not an issue because we are just making a small minor change. If something goes wrong, we can easily roll back, and it's really easy to troubleshoot the piece we're doing because we actually have a really small chunk of code that we need to look at and resolve the issues. Also, what we need to remember. So the final idea is like DevOps is just not, it's not only like people, it's not only a process, it's completely way new of thinking. It's also completely new way of organizing things and a whole new way of working. It doesn't actually recognize traditional departments that we have in IT like dev and ops. Everyone needs to work together. It needs to be a fluent process when everyone is involved from the beginning, making plans and making attempt at better communication across the board, so everyone is included and all steps can be considered from beginning to the end. Also, it's very important that DevOps must be recognized by management or it's definitely going to fail. So this needs to be a company project. It cannot be like we have a team, it's going to start doing DevOps from today. It's not basically possible. Everyone from top of the company to everyone in the teams, everyone needs to be included in DevOps. And if management doesn't actually start thinking the DevOps way. It's destined to fail. It's never going to succeed on the company level. You're just going to fall into little traps under in the impression that you're developing DevOps, but you're actually making your life much more harder and much more difficult in the end. Also, DevOps cannot be like implemented overnight. We cannot say, okay, we decided from the next month we're going to do DevOps. It's step-by-step process. It's a change of habits, and it's really hard on people. So we need to start small and introduce people to the benefits that they actually need so they actually need to understand what change is bringing them and how it can make their life easier. Basically, it requests a significant amount of time and significant amount of patience before we actually can implement it. Okay, so do we have any questions?
Hello, Mustafa. Yeah. We have one question from Lonel Morales.
I cannot hear you.
Do you hear me? Mustafa, do you hear me?
Is it me or?
No. Do you hear me? Mustafa, do you hear me?
Okay, we have a question. Huge company. Marcus, I cannot hear you. If you're talking, I hear nothing.
This is weird.
So we have huge companies may have higher deploy frequency just because they have more developers and products. What would be a reasonable number for a small 100 less than 100 employees? This actually, there's no like silver bullet on that part. It actually depends on number of things and depends on how you do your process, depends on the industry you're working on, depends on your internal setup. With 100 people, if everyone is working across the board on single product, I would say, let's say once or twice per day. That would be like something that's acceptable. But it can be a weekly process as well. It's not like, it really depends. You cannot say. In certain situations, companies require certain compliance testing, security, penetration testing before going to actual production. So it takes time. It's absolutely true. Amazon is easy for Amazon to deploy 23,000 times per day because they have thousands of developers on board. But also we need to understand that those are not the major changes that they're doing. They're like probably adjusting, just like deploying a new product or something else, adding to their page. Those are really small things.
Nice. Do you hear me now?
Do you recommend have a DevOps team, or should this be handled by Dev QA people? Okay, so this is the first problem where this is again us and them. This is like Dev and Ops should work together in this process. So I don't trust in DevOps team, but I really like the approach where we actually have ops people included in the structure. So we still have dev, we still have QA, we still have operations, but they need to work as a single team. It's impossible because we don't want them to be in the different departments. And I think that generally having a DevOps team is bad idea. Ops people need to be part of the team that's developing the product. That's kind of perfect idea of having a good DevOps structure. Do we have any more questions?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. In that case, thank you everyone and have a good day. Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mustafa. All right. Later.